Fresh violence has been reported from Manipur now. Sources say that the violence was reported from a village bordering Churachandpur. The violence has been reported amidst massive efforts by security forces to stabilize the law and order situation in the state. Shootings have been reported between the Meitei community and the Kuki community in the area. And the damages and the casualties are yet to be ascertained. Security forces have been deployed in large numbers, bear in mind, in the newly affected areas. And security forces have also recovered a large cache of arms and ammunition in the last few days. So the fear that armed gangs funded from both communities, Meitei and the Kuki, will be involved in this unprecedented violence has now come true. It's one of the worst situations that could possibly happen. Manipur is going through it at this stage. We're bringing you live, non-stop coverage of it with the renewed focus. We have Jangkholam Haokip, activist from Churachandpur, from where this entire violent outbreak began, joining us on the phone line. Jangkholam Haokip, we are hearing that there are fresh outbreaks of violence. Shootings have been reported. Talk to us, if you can confirm this for us, what is the latest that you can tell us about the ground situation in Churachandpur?
In defense of the village, one of the defender was shot and was brought to Churachandpur hospital. And so we are wondering whether we are in India or somewhere else. Is Article 355 being imposed? Who is taking in control of law and order? We need to safeguard the civilians, the people who have no way to defend themselves. You were talking about the guns being snatched away during the conflict. I also want to ask, what about the licensed guns the villagers have, which the government has ordered to submit before the incident? At least those licensed guns return to the villagers so that they can protect themselves. If Indian government cannot protect the villagers, you should give the licensed guns so that the villagers can protect themselves. This is a human rights issue. We cannot reach out to the outside world. Internet is disconnected. We cannot send WhatsApp messages. So therefore, we are dying. I went to hospital this morning. So many deaths are there, and so many people are suffering in the hospital. And most of the casualty in the hospital are from the relief camps. There's no water, there's no food, they don't sleep. Therefore, the children get they are hospitalized. So this is an issue that the government has to look into. I appreciate Indian government, the paramilitary. We have cooperated them, helped them to restore peace, but that is not enough. It's not enough. We need a neutral army arrangement, and also please provide protection for the villagers. We cannot sleep in the night. It's not safe.
Mr. Haokip,
so, please.
Mr. Haokip, you know, our chat box is on. Lot of people are asking questions. I am putting one question to you. Some people on our YouTube chat box are saying that the violence which has taken place in Churachandpur, some outsiders were involved. Can you take this question? Now I'm taking, because these questions are coming on our chat box. So I'm directly taking questions from those who are interacting, coming to our program.
Who are the outsiders? Who are the outsiders? Who are the migrants? This is a rubbish thing. There is no religion there. There's no immigrant issue. Kuki is Kuki. We're here. We've been here since before British time. So all this are to divert the issue. The issue is the land. So our lands have been, the villages have been burned down. So 67 villages have been burned down. So where would the people go now? How would the people go now? It's not safe to go back. So this is something that Indian government has to take seriously, and they have to provide solution peacefully so that our children should not face again in the future.
Why is violence taking place in Churachandpur?
Because the issues have not been resolved. I have been telling you since the last few days that unless a definitive political step is taken in the shape of an inter-party, inter-ethnic dialogue, and everybody is brought to the table, or at least the announcement is made that everybody is brought to the table, people will continue. Because what happens now? You have deployed the army, you have deployed the condign instrument of the state, you have the police, you have paramilitary forces. They're just trying to put, like when we cook and the steam comes out, we're just trying to put the lid on the cook pot. Does that mean that the steam will not come out? It will slowly start pushing upwards, and at the first opportunity, throw the lid off. So this is exactly what is happening here. The steam is there. The steam has not evaporated. People are angry. People on all sides, are having their own grievances. They have their own fears. They have their own apprehensions. Meiteis, Cookies, even Nagas who are not sort of in this fight are worried what effect it will have on the peace process, what effect it will have, You see, now for a Meitei, when he sees some tribal, he may mistake a Naga for a Cookie and hit him. Then you know what happens? People are going to go back to the Naga church or wherever they are and say, our chap has been killed. Then they start attacking the Meiteis in the hills. So, this is how the spiral happens. This is the cascading effect.
Talk to us, how do you view the situation? We're talking about fresh violence erupting again, even as we were moving towards a normalcy.
But there are two parts to this issue. Whenever we are talking about bringing the law and order under control, we had said earlier that, of course, it takes about 3 to 5 days to bring everything under control. But the mopping up operations, the residual operations which have to be done, they take a while, and you have to be very vigilant and alert. For example, I don't know about the weapons which have been taken away from the various police stations. Have they really come back or not? Whether all the persons who were sort of displaced have come back or not, because that's a kind of a simmering discontent which will continue for a while. And therefore, in the outlying areas of whether outside the city or in Churachandpur area, in the hills and these areas, if this is going on, there is also the danger of the underground elements which have taken advantage of the situation. And we saw some of them brandishing weapons also in that solidarity march. So this is a vulnerable period where things have to be watched very, very carefully, and that's why this repeat of violence which has taken place, it has to be crushed. It has to be taken very, very seriously, because this will give a kind of a counter reaction in the other places. Now, the other thing which I want to point out is that, more than a political problem, it's a human problem which is happening in Manipur. And, things have been in a ferment. The wounds have been festering. So unless any political party, the problems are not going to change. If Biren Singh changes, the situation will remain the same on ground. Whether it's the Meiteis who are demanding the ST status with some justification, and whether it is the Cookies who are demanding the sixth schedule with some justification, they will remain. And how will you balance these two unless you have an all-party dialogue, unless you have the tribal elders coming together, unless you have everyone coming around to talks? That's the only way. So political situation will have to be found. And I think whether this government remains or goes, it doesn't matter, because the demands will be further accentuated, and somebody has to deal with it and not just take ad hoc measures like putting boots on ground or giving some sops here and there. So I do hope there is something very, very seriously being thought of as a future agenda.